Hey guys, my name is Jamie and I am an emergency medicine physician in New York City. And today I'm going to be reacting to a new Disney show. It's called Doogie Kamealoha. It's kind of based on the old show from the 90s, Doogie Howser MD. It's a young guy played by Neil Patrick Harris, and he's like this boy genius who is a surgeon. And the whole show is about him going through life as a surgeon, but also as like a teenager boy. So I think this Disney show is going to be something similar in premise, but I'm excited to check it out. So let's get into it.
Hella, I love a birthday surf. You're starting off 16 right, baby girl? I remember when I...
So I guess she is turning 16 and surfing with her dad. That's really sweet.
I used to hold you in the palm of my hand.
Party at 12 o'clock.
I cannot imagine saying that to my dad, to my Asian dad. Hottie at 12 o'clock.
We should go. I don't want to be late for my driver's license test. I'm all grown up.
Slow down, yeah? Hey, okay, back, yeah? Slow down! Are you crazy? Hey! Hey! Return to the vehicle!
Whoa, where you going?
Excuse me!
1141, hey.
Male, bicycle ride.
Get out of here!
Let's roll the bus on this one.
Let me see him.
Come on.
Get off me.
You want to go to jail?
You'll be going to jail for criminal negligence. This man has a fractured dislocation of the hip, and he's gonna lose his leg unless I fix it right away. Hold his hips down so I can rotate his leg.
What?
There's no palpable pulse in his leg, and he's gonna...
So she's doing like a very quick trauma assessment. People get very excited about trauma. It is exciting if you're into that kind of thing. Actually, trauma workup is very algorithmic. So you do kind of the same thing with every trauma that you get. And that is ABC, airway, breathing, circulation. And then it goes down the list of all the other stuff that you do. So she's talking about him not having pulses. So that would be C. So before getting to circulation, you want to make sure that the patient has an airway and the patient is breathing. Because frankly, if the patient is unable to breathe and doesn't have a secure, protected airway, it almost doesn't matter that the patient might lose a leg because he'll die from other reasons. In his case, for this patient, if he's unconscious after a trauma and he's not really responding, I would imagine that there's probably more serious injuries going on beyond just a fractured leg. But let's see what she does.
Lose it because it blocks circulation.
Oh, I'm not gonna.
Hold him down now. And you, support his neck.
You want to always protect the C-spine every time there's a suspected head injury with neck injury as well.
Ready? Hold him steady, okay? Here we go.
Oh.
Man, she made that look so easy. Typically not so easy. I wonder if she's like an emergency medicine doctor or if she's like an orthopedic doctor. But that seems like she knew what to do and really addressed the problem. But like I said, you want to address airway, breathing before you get to circulation.
I can feel pulses. Circulation is restored. Now get me something I can use as a brace.
Yes, doctor.
Go. And something we can use to put pressure on this wound to stop the bleeding.
So right now she's using almost like a makeshift tourniquet. It works pretty similar in its mechanism. I probably would not have used a tourniquet in this patient because you can see that he's not really actively bleeding. Tourniquets come with its own risks. You're basically cutting off circulation to the rest of the distal limb. So in someone like this where he's not really bleeding out, I would have probably just dressed it and brought it to the hospital. The other thing that you can try is using a pressure dressing to put pressure on where the bleeding is. But like you can see, he's not really bleeding, so I don't think pressure dressing would have been even necessary here.
Hello, Mr. Lim. I'm Dr. Nakayama, and this is Dr. Zeller.
Hi, we're both residents. Dr. Kamealoha will be taking care of you.
Aloha, Mr. Lim.
Judging by what they just said, it sounds like she's the attending and she's working with 2 residents, meaning she is already done with residency. So she's now in charge of the residents and taking care of patients and being in charge of them and educating residents.
Residents, I need your patient reports. And Dr. Kamealoha, may I have a word with you?
Is everything okay, doctor?
It was, until this morning when I saw your new TikTok.
Mom!
We're at work. It's Dr. Hannon.
So I guess her mom is the chief of medicine of the hospital where she works. It's pretty interesting to have your mom as like your boss at work too. I can imagine that's like pretty difficult.
And I know it's your birthday, but that was way too much hip action. A dab will do ya.
I was dancing.
So much hip.
Okay, so I have to call you doctor because we're at work, but you're allowed to mom out on me because I do this?
Oh, no. Stop that.
There's so many medical field like TikTokers these days.
Oh, Will, you are so popular. This whole team of doctors wanted to see you. This is Dr. Lee. He's the heart surgeon I was telling you about.
Will, I hear you're not feeling too well, but not to worry, we're gonna make you feel much better. We might even give you a new heart.
We never discussed a transplant. I know he's got severe AS, and he's been in class 4 failure for a long time. But we should start with TAVR and go from there. A transplant is too risky.
So I'm going to assume based on what they're talking about that she's either now internal medicine doctor or cardiology. And Dr. Lee is a cardiothoracic surgeon. And it looks like there's a difference in opinion in terms of how to take care of this patient. And now they're at the office of chief of medicine talking about what to do. I can understand the main doctor being upset if there's a treatment option that was presented to the patient without discussing with the primary team, because you always want to make sure all the doctors are on the same page. And as the primary team doctor, you want to make sure that you're aware of all the consultants' recommendations. And you don't want the patient to be hearing it from the first time and for you to be hearing for the first time in front of the patient.
Statistically, he's got a better chance if we replace the valve than probably a BIV pacer. I know I can get his EF above 20% in 2 months.
Look, my recommendation is to do the transplant, okay?
So they're talking about this patient's heart, and she's talking about his EF, which is ejection fraction, which is a measure of how well the heart is functioning. If you have poor function of the heart, it means it's not working well, it's not pumping well enough to pump blood to the rest of your body. The options for that would be AICD, pacemaker, or having a valve surgery if that's the cause of it, or having transplant. There's like many different ways that you can treat a failing heart depending on what it's from. So now they're talking about all the different options.
My call stand or not?
It's a tough call. But Dr. Kamealoha, I'm not sure we have the time to wait. So yes, Dr. Lee, your call stands.
He is my patient, and I know what he needs.
It's a very difficult dynamic, having your mom as your boss and then having your mom like basically tell you no, even though she's being as professional as she can be. I can imagine this is like a very tricky dynamic.
Lehela!
You just gonna take that? Man, I wish I had a white mom.
Thank you, Dr. Lee.
And that kind of comment would be like very unprofessional. You don't want to say that to your chief of medicine.
What's wrong?
Nothing.
Come on, talk to me. You tell me.
I just feel so ready for everything. But I have my first dance tonight.
That's very interesting. This patient's pulse is 0 on the monitor, and then there's something crazy happening on this other monitor.
So, are you ready for your new heart?
When do I get it?
The transplant schedule is hard to predict. It could be today, tomorrow, next week. Depends on when they get one.
The reason why transplant schedule is unpredictable is because obviously you need the donor organ, and in cases like heart, it needs to come from somebody who basically just died. You can't schedule when the heart is going to become available, so it's often a very last minute decision or that you hear about when something becomes available like that. Slightly different for something like kidneys, where people have 2 kidneys, so people can elect to donate one of their kidneys, so you can schedule that a little better. But if you're going to be getting it from a deceased donor, then it's going to be kind of a surprise.
What happened?
He was asleep in his bed when he suddenly went to VFib arrest. We worked on him for over an hour, but he was just
too debilitated.
VFib is one where your heart is basically shaking, or it's like fibrillating, but not in any kind of organized, effective way to be able to pump the blood to the rest of your body. So essentially, it's the same as your heart just stopping, functionally speaking. And there's a bunch of different things you can do. Compressions is the first and foremost. In certain rhythms, you can shock the heart in an attempt to bring them back. For certain rhythms, you don't shock, you just give medication. So sounds like he was in a ventricular fibrillation arrest, and they did CPR and ACLS for over an hour, which is a long time, but they weren't able to bring him back.
I came as soon as I heard. I'm so sorry.
I think it's always really difficult when you lose a patient, but especially if it's somebody that you've had some time to like get to know and communicate with. In the emergency department, most of the cardiac arrests that I see are ones where the patient already comes in cardiac arrest, so I never really get to talk to them or really get to know them. But there's rarely some occasions where they come in walking and talking, and then they arrest in the emergency room. And I find those cases to be really difficult, and they really stick with me for a long time. As healthcare workers, we come across death much more frequently than some of the other jobs. So it really does weigh on you, and it's really important that you get to be able to talk about it with other people who understand what you're going through. And I think this is like a really unique situation because she's obviously really young. She's just 16, and going through just really serious life events like death. And the fact that her mom can be there to talk to her about it is really special. I wonder if this is her first patient death, because presumably she has gone through 2 years of residency, and I think it would be really unusual to go through your residency without having multiple patient deaths. But maybe this one just meant more to her because she was close with the patient. Certain deaths just really stick with you. Same for me. There are certain patients that I think about even now, and I have to like talk about it with my colleagues, but also like write about it and like really think about it to process it myself. So it sounds like, or it looks like, that's what she's doing with this patient. So that was the end of episode 1. I really liked it. It's really like wholesome, but also talks about like really serious topics like life and death and working in medicine. I thought they did that really well, and also at the same time it's funny, and it's in some ways like light, and it's very watchable. So I really enjoyed that. I hope you guys liked it too. If you guys watched the show, let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.